Hi, welcome to Wednesday Wellness with Dr. Brianna Gaynor. I am so excited. Excuse me. I'm so excited for today's topic because it is very near and dear to my heart. We are going to be talking about burnout as an entrepreneur and why 80% of founders burn out before year three and how you can become the exception. So, as always, I'll give you a few minutes. Well, little under a minute, but give people a little bit of time to get on and then we will get started. I am so excited to be back. And this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart because I am also a founder. And so I know very well the stresses that come with being an entrepreneur and um, taking on a business. So I am hoping that today will bring some insight. It will bring some guidance, and hopefully, most importantly, it will bring some level of encouragement to you to know that you are not alone in this journey of entrepreneurship. And if you are not a business owner, maybe knowing some of these things, and maybe if that's something you're planning to do, this can be something that can also be helpful for you in just kind of thinking about what this life may look like and being semi prepared, right? Because when we get into new spaces and new situations, we can have knowledge of it, but it's really the experience and having to practice the thing and do the thing where we really kind of learn different skills. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. So let's jump right into it. Why 80% of founders burn out before year three. So let me just say, I am a business owner. I have owned Peace of Mind Psychological Services in Alpharetta, Georgia for 11 years now. And so what I found is that this is definitely an extremely stressful undertaking. It has been the most rewarding and probably most challenging thing that I've ever done, hands down. And so it's interesting because I know when I tell people that I'm a business owner or I'm a psychologist, oh, you own your own business? Oh, that's so great. And it sounds great. And not that it isn't, but it comes with a lot of stresses. I know sometimes I can talk to different friends and they're like, oh, you're your own boss. You can make your own schedule. You can do this, you can do that. It feels like it's kind of a better option than working at a job with a boss. And there are some benefits to it. It's nice to have the freedom and the flexibility, but there's also the strain and stress of everything that comes along with it. And so, with that, I want to normalize the fact that this is an extremely stressful thing to do. While there are benefits, it is not for the weak at heart. Having your own business and having to be responsible for all the things is having to be responsible for all the things. And one of the things that can come up in this entrepreneurship as we are kind of going through this process is imposter syndrome. We've all experienced that probably, or most of us at times, or we've heard or know of people who have experienced the imposter syndrome, where we feel like we aren't doing or kind of showing up or measuring up to what people think we are. Do I really know what I'm doing? When are they going to find out that I really am not as good as they think that I am? And I think it's interesting because my friend group and I who do own businesses have probably been in a similar situation because none of us went to school for business. I did not go to school for business. I went to school for psychology. And so when I started a practice, I was very confident and continue to be very confident in my skills as a clinician. It's the business owner part that I've really had to grow into. And because, when I got into this business, when I became a psychologist, I really wasn't looking to have my own practice. I specifically said, I just want to go to work and go home. And God had different plans. So fast forward 11 years later, it's really been a challenge and something that I continually work on to assure myself that I've grown in this line of work. I've grown as a business owner, and I've also learned to ask for help because we all need help sometimes. But the truth is, in addition to this being stressful, and in addition to us feeling like an imposter, There are a lot of stress amplifiers that come with being a business owner. Let's talk about the first one, identity fusion. The truth is, your worth a lot of times can become tied to your job and your business. I say to people a lot, I feel like peace of mind has become my baby. It's mine. And so there are so many nights that I've spent being up in the middle of the night, worried, wondering about being able to make payroll, people leaving, people coming, clients being unhappy. This business has kept me up and a lot of times been stressful because I'm very deeply connected to it because I have ownership of it. It's mine. And so the sense of responsibility that you feel that if this doesn't go well, it's on me can be extremely stressful. And it can be hard to separate the two. What I remember in the first few years, it was challenging for me to put my computer down and not bring my computer. I remember having a friend say, "You need to put that computer down. You're always doing work." And what I don't think that she understood was, this is mine. I felt like I had to push this to make this work. And so just simply taking off the weekends because I wasn't at work anymore didn't seem as much of a viable option because I wasn't clocking in and out. I was the head of this thing that needed to move. And now, as time has grown, or as time has gone on and it's grown, now I'm responsible for people's paychecks and people's livelihoods. All of that can be extremely stressful. And then there is the solopreneur isolation. When you are doing this, and a lot of the people around you are not entrepreneurs, it can be very isolating because people don't understand. A lot of times, as I said earlier, the outside world can see this as an advantage and something good and something easy and breezy, and it's not. And it's often challenging to not be able to talk to the people you're close to about the struggles you have. Because who do we go to when we're having a difficult time? We go to our loved ones, we go to our friends, we go to our family, we go to the people that we care about who care about us to bounce ideas off of, to talk to. And when people don't get what this is because this is nuanced, that can be challenging. So, what I also want to offer you is find a network of people who do understand. That has been a saving grace for me. Having a consultation group of women who all owned businesses, we were all in the mental health field, we all had similar issues. We were able to band together and support each other. And I think I know that has led to longevity. I feel like we were all able to continue to do this because we had each other. So when you don't have people who understand, find some people. And then the last thing that creates stress in business, which I am still having to remind myself of every year, I probably should put a note or something, but it's the extreme ups and downs that come with business. There are highs, there are high moments, there are things when revenue is great and times when revenue is not so great. In the mental health field, we have different seasons where things are going strong, people are coming for referrals, and then in the summer, things can tend to get a little slower. People are going on vacation, they're not as worried about issues. And while that's great, when you're looking at this as kind of continuous revenue, it can be challenging when you have those low times. And so I want to normalize all these things. The fact that having a business can be very closely tied to your identity and can create a lot of significant stress because it becomes who you are. It can be isolating, especially when you don't have people around you who understand, who can relate, and who can support you in the ways that you need. And then there are just these up and down patterns that happen. You're generally not always getting a regular paycheck, especially in the beginning. It's up and it's down. Maybe you have to take a loss. You have to make sure that you're paying your people. You may have to lay people off. There are a lot of things that come with the ups and downs of business. And so we talk about what's the struggle, but then what do we do? What is the solution? What I want to say is it is very possible to experience the stress of being an entrepreneur, but to also not let it overtake you, to not let it lead to burnout, to be on the 20%. And the 20% that's not burnt out doesn't mean that they're not stressed, doesn't mean that there isn't anxiety or worries, but it means that it's not impacting their overall day and functioning. And you're still able to enjoy life and put in place some things in your business that help you manage the stress that will inevitably come with it. The stress is not going to go away, but what can we put in place to help us? If this is the path we're on, what do we do? So, my 3 tools. Let's talk about how we deal with this. The first thing is a compassion pivot. It's really important that we can have compassion for ourselves. We often are so much more able to have compassion for others, to hear them out, to cheer people on, but we often have difficulty doing that for ourselves. And so, for instance, let's say you miss a goal. The first thing you probably would say is, I failed, whatever that was. So, for instance, in my business, so we do different events that we have to market to different clients for. So, if we had an event and we marketed and people didn't come, which could bring in revenue, we could look at that as a failure. I failed getting enough clients in so that we could kind of make this financial goal that we had. Or I could think of it as, this didn't work out right now, but what can I learn from it and what can I take away from it? The most important thing is it didn't work out right now. You have no idea how many times it's important not to stop on the first time that things don't work out. Think about your life. Think about the things that have been hard that you kept doing. If you would have given up, what would you have missed out on? It's the same thing with business. Maybe it wasn't the right season. Maybe we didn't market to the right people. Maybe we didn't follow up the way that we could. So how can we look at this as what we can do differently to maybe change the outcome? And the truth is, there will be times that things don't work out right now. But it's also an opportunity for us to figure out what are some things that we can tweak. The next thing is a boundary buffer. One of the things that I've incorporated in the last few years after I became more comfortable kind of getting good admin staff was creating kind of boundaries for myself, scheduling recovery hours the way I schedule meetings. And what that looks like for me in the present season is I don't work on the weekends. I will admit it took a very long time to get there. At first I didn't work on Sundays, but now it's Saturday and Sunday. And it is amazing how much not doing work makes a big difference. So what are the boundary setters? What are the boundary settings? What are the things that you need to put in place for yourself? Everyone needs recovery. We tend to work and work and work and work, but what we don't realize is when you're hitting that wall, when nothing is getting in, when you're not creative, when you're not flowing with the work as easily as you usually are, that's usually a sign that you're probably spending a lot more time doing something because you're exhausted, because you're fatigued, because you're mentally exhausted. I read a lot of psychological evaluations, and there have been a lot of times in the past where I would push through and just read it because I want to get this much done in a day. But what I realized is when I'm not having the desire to do it, when I'm not reading through it easily, when I'm not intrigued and paying attention to the details, a report that could take me 45 minutes to an hour to read is taking me 2 and 3 hours. And so paying attention for me to what my body is saying when it's like, I don't want to do anything else is usually a good point because the next day I'll be a lot more productive. So what are the boundaries that you can put in place for yourself? How do you schedule that recovery time? Working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, I mean, you're probably sleeping somewhere in there. But working every single day is not sustainable. So even in small moments, can you take time to eat dinner at the table? Can you cut off screens? Can you put away on whatever system you use that you communicate with your team on so that no one is bothering you? But really putting in place those boundaries is going to be important for you to refuel, to replenish, and to be ready to take on this task of entrepreneurship. And then finally, let's kind of reframe the failure to a data reframe. So what that looks like is, how can we use what's not going well as a lesson? So in the earlier example, maybe the marketing event didn't go well. So how can I use what didn't go well as an example to start to do some different things and just experiment? So maybe we are going to market to a bigger group of people. Maybe I'll reach out to my different referral sources. Maybe we'll start to remind people to come to that event. But it's often in the things that don't go well that we learn our best lessons. I know for me, some of the best lessons I've learned with personnel, with hiring, with firing, with training, have been from the downfalls and the things that did not go well, have been from when there wasn't enough information, when someone did something wrong, when something was missed, when a client was upset. And some of those things I could not have guessed would happen until they happen. So if we can take everything that happens as an opportunity to learn and grow and strengthen our resources, strengthen our processes, strengthen the way that we provide our services, then we're actually winning. You're never failing unless you stop. If you continue to utilize the information that you have to make things better, that's the best thing that you can do. And that actually means that you're succeeding. No one does everything right, has revenue going high every year, never makes a mistake, ever. It's about the resilience to be able to continue to push through even when it's hard, and to recognize the little achievements that you've made along the way. Sometimes I have to stop and just look at the bigger picture. Sometimes if I walk into the office in the morning before everyone is there, I try to, instead of being on the phone, paying attention to other things, I try to take the time to focus in and just look. This is my space. People work here. People are getting their needs met here. The phone is ringing. Taking into perspective what's happening is huge. So never not take the time to appreciate the small moments, because it also helps to give you the fuel to continue on this journey. So 80% of founders tend to burn out before year 3. How you can prevent that? Well, there are a few things you can do. But first, let's just normalize that this is difficult. Let's understand that it's stressful, and let's get a support group around us. And then let's pivot. Let's have a compassion pivot where we're actually giving ourselves the space to be okay with what's not going well. And you didn't fail. It just didn't work out this time. But I promise you, that's not indicative of how it will continue to be if you don't give up. Putting in place boundaries is extremely important. I know that because I didn't do it for the longest time. And now that I do it, I live by it. And finally, reframing the failure. What can you learn from it? And how can you grow to make things better? We're all in this together. We're all on this journey figuring it out. But keep going and give yourself the space and time that you need so that you can be on that 20% and you can continue to move forward in what you need. So you have an assignment for this week. One compassion pivot. I want you to save this post, and I want you to send us a message and let us know what your compassion pivot was. And I will share my favorites. I hope that this has been helpful. If you have any questions, please let us know. But please give yourself the grace to know you can do this, even when it's hard. I actually think it's supposed to be hard, but that's okay. You got this. This has been Wednesday Wellness with Dr. Brianna Gaynor. Please follow me on all social medias at Dr. Gaynor Speaks and Peace of Mind Psychology. I have also written my first book, Nina Smile. It is available on Amazon and all places where you can buy books. And thank you so much. I will see you next time on Wellness Wednesday. Take care.